Okay, then. By the way, Arizona was referenced to Trey Lance's start last season where he hurt his knee, and that was Trey Lance's first career start last year for the injured Jimmy Garoppolo. Joining me now, we've got our analyst Pete Prisco and Rick Spielman. Pete, I'll start with you because you've been a part of a lot of these post-game press conferences. What did you think of that exchange on Sunday?
Well, I mean, Kyle had to be ready for it, and it sounds like he was. This league, but that's who Trey Lance is. When you draft him where they drafted him and traded up to go get him, the run game is a big part of who he is. And so if he gets hurt running the football, which you are actually exposing yourself to more damage at times, then, you know, it's part of who he is. They can't criticize Kyle Shanahan for running him because that's who they drafted. That's who he is. So I get why Kyle Shanahan's a little defensive. And quite frankly, I think there are times in this league where these quarterback runs are getting out of control. And this isn't one of them because this is who he is. But Josh Allen in Buffalo, he referenced that. They need to cut down on the runs for Josh Allen, the design runs. I don't mind if a guy gets outside the pocket and creates with his legs and has to take off and run. But when you're designing runs for quarterbacks, you're opening them up to A, injury, but B, wear and tear on their bodies. And we saw it with Cam Newton. He was a big, strong, physical guy, and he wore down. He's one of the biggest quarterbacks who ever played the game, and he wore down because there's a lot of nasty, violent guys on the defensive side of the ball. So I get the criticism, but that's who Trey Lance is. That's what you were going to get with him.
And that's what these quarterbacks coming out in the draft now are running quarterbacks. And you see when you watch college tape that they're run-pass option, RPOs. And that play right there was just a run option. So either he hands it off or he keeps the ball and goes up. And guys are going to get hurt. But offensive coordinators, head coaches are designing their offense according to the type of athletes at the quarterback position that is coming out. And this was just a freak play. And you know, usually that doesn't happen on natural grass, and that's a natural grass. So if it was turf, maybe you're blaming him on the turf, but also this happened on natural grass, which is the safest surface you can play on.
When we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, because now this kind of comes into the fold, the way it all played out with Jimmy G, Kyle Shanahan, and John Lynch, fellas. Rick, I'll start with you because you're in this position. The way that they handled Jimmy Garoppolo in the offseason, then was able to restructure the deal that made him the highest paid backup, and now he's going to be the starter for the foreseeable future.
I don't want to call it luck, but it was great fortune that Jimmy G is still there, because I think if they wanted to keep him as a backup quarterback, they wouldn't have talked about trading him the whole time. He would have probably started practicing during the preseason. There was no conversations from the outside going on that, hey, we're trying to restructure Jimmy G's contract to keep him here as a backup to Trey Lance. All of a sudden, right before the season started, something changed. Maybe there was no market for the trade. Maybe Jimmy G didn't want to go anywhere else. He wanted to stay in San Francisco. He restructured his contract, so it worked out. He played it perfectly, although he did take some pay cut, but I think he's going to get most of his money back with the way the contract was restructured.
Yeah, I mean, this is the greatest hedge in the history of hedging. They hedged. You know, what changed? Maybe they saw what Trey Lance was during the preseason and on training camp. And when we were in Minnesota, we talked to some players up there. They said Trey Lance, who worked out with him for 2 days, wasn't that good. He didn't impress them. And so I think maybe there was some in the back of their minds, hey, maybe we need to keep Jimmy Garoppolo around here. And it worked out perfectly for him. I mean, Jimmy G has taken that team to a Super Bowl, was within a whisker, a tart pick last year against the Rams of going back to the Super Bowl. And when you think about it, did you see the reaction of the players around Jimmy G yesterday? I'm telling you, there are guys in that locker room who would prefer to have Jimmy G as their starting quarterback. You could just read the tea leaves and see that. That would not have been a good situation if Lance had struggled. I hate to see guys hurt, but this is an opportunity for Jimmy G to go show people that he can still play quarterback in the NFL.
And what would have happened if they didn't have Jimmy G going forward?
Brock
So
Purdy.
they are very, very fortunate to have a Jimmy G as their backup quarterback, now starter.
Yep, Jimmy G and Brock Purdy on the roster there in Santa Clara. By the way, in terms of the betting market, now Caesar Sportsbook hasn't changed their San Francisco odds, but some books have actually had San Francisco with shorter odds with Jimmy G than they did with Trey Lance just yesterday. All right, let's go over Week 2 winners. And Rick, I'll start with you. We're going to have a graphic of a few highlights that you noted from over the weekend.
Yeah, first is Tua, and everybody put the mark on his back in the preseason. Can he do it, not do it? There was a lot of discussion about can he throw the deep ball. Now he has the weapons around him. There was a Gesicki exciting yesterday and got involved in the offense. And great job by him bringing them back and scoring 28 points and throwing four fourth-quarter touchdowns. And then you look at the Lions, and you got to look at St. Brown and what a playmaker he's become for him, not only catching 8 games with 8 consecutive catches in a game that tied an NFL record, but he also had a big run that helped spark the offense. And then finally, Cooper Rush. What can you say about him? 2 starts, both times he came back. He did it to us in 21 on a Sunday night. I'll never forget a Halloween night. He threw a touchdown pass to Amani Cooper with 51 seconds left to go. He did the same thing. He's not the next Troy Aikman at Dallas, but he knows how to win games when it's crunch time.
Cooper Rush had a really good first half, and then things settled down for them offensively in the second half until the very end, where he helped set up that game-winning field goal. And again, taking a look at those 2 games as a starter in for the injured Dak Prescott. Pete, let's get to your Week 2 winners here. And it does include the Lions, although let's start with the other side of the ball for Detroit on Sunday.
Yeah, and Aiden Hutchinson had 3 sacks. That ties a career high for any rookie for the Detroit Lions. And the best part about that is he dedicated the game to a 5-year-old who's struggling with leukemia. I mean, that's just, and he went out and he played his butt off. Remember, in game 1, he didn't do a lot. He struggled. He had 1 tackle. And so he came out and really played well on Sunday. And oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw his sack dance. It's kind of when he sang Billie Jean on Hard Knocks. It's like he honors Michael Jackson with a little bit of his sack dance. So it was a good day for Aiden Hutchinson. My other guys, Christian Kirk, and I put Christian Kirk up there. Why? He didn't have an explosive game. He had 2 touchdowns. He's off to a really good start. Remember, he was the guy that everybody put the bullseye on in the offseason. How dare they give that guy that kind of contract? Well, he's off to a really good start for the Jacksonville Jaguars, had 2 touchdown catches. And then the AFC North. I mean, my God, all we talked about all look, who's going to win the North? Is it going to be the Bengals or the Browns or the Steelers going to be able to make a push? Or what about the Ravens? Are they back? And they all were bad on Sunday.
By the way, with Christian Kirk, didn't you catch up with him at camp over the summer? Pete?
I did. And remember, I asked him, Tommy, I said, hey, we look at bullseye on your back, and he kind of got a little angry about it. He didn't like it. And so I get it. I think when these guys get that kind of contract, people are going to question them. Go out. I always say, pay guys on the way up, not on the way down, and he's on the way up.
Rick, you know what we call that? We call that the Prisco bump.
Oh, yeah. No, everybody Pete talks to gets a little edgy after they talk to him.
And then they get the edge of playing better. All right. How about Week 2 losers, Rick, for you? Observations on a few things that you did not like what you
Yeah, the Bengals offensive line, they revamped that. They went out and spent a bunch of money on these new guys. Burrow's been sacked 13 times in the first 2 games. Last year he was sacked 51 times. How long is he going to be able to stand in that pocket and stand up before he gets hurt? The other question is Jameis Winston. We saw him against Atlanta, who does not have a very good defense, but he threw 2 touchdown passes to bring them back in the first game. This week was the total opposite. Now, Tampa Bay's defense is something totally different than they faced Atlanta, but throwing 3 picks in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line, it seemed like he lost his composure. And the New Orleans offense isn't the same right now without Sean Payton. And the last, the Browns special teams. Now, you can go a lot of different directions on the Browns. The defensive collapse in the final 2 minutes. Chubb on 1st and 10 at the 12-yard line. If he just stays in and goes down instead of scores that touchdown, they can run the clock out because they don't have any timeouts left. And then, but the special teams, the missed extra point. York was a hero last week. This week they didn't recover the onside kick. So there's a lot of different ways, but I went with the Cleveland Browns special teams.
A lot of people have backed Cleveland to win that game and quite comfortably against the Jets. Pete, what about your Week 2 losers?
Well, I think when you look at the Colts have to be the biggest loser this week. I mean, when you look at them, this is one of those situations where they go to Jacksonville where they haven't won since 2014, okay. But to not score? I know they have injuries on the outside, but that's not my concern with this team. The concern with the Colts is the offensive line. It's been a calling card for that team for a long time. That was the one constant. They're good up front. Well, they're not good up front. And they got after Matt Ryan. He threw 3 picks. There was pressure in his face all day long. It's just not a good look for the Indianapolis Colts right now, and they got to pick it up. I mean, that division's still winnable, but they got to turn things around in a hurry. I mentioned the AFC North, bad bad division. And then you look at the Raiders. How the hell do you allow the Arizona Cardinals, who were lifeless? They were lifeless. They let them come back in that situation. That's a terrible home loss for the Las Vegas Raiders. It should never happen. And then lose it on a fumble return in overtime. That's even worse and stings even more.
Not a great start there for Josh McDaniels in terms of that particular game, and for the Raiders and its fans, not well out in Vegas. So thanks to Pete Prisco and Rick Spielman, and we wanted to say it is important for teams to avoid that 0-2 start. Teams that have this over the last 3 years from John Breach, they don't usually make it to the postseason, so that means this year the Bengals, Raiders, Panthers, or Falcons are on it. Now, Green Bay got off of that with their win last night against Chicago. Tonight, to be determined, the Titans at 0-1 at the Bills. It'll be pretty tough for them. Taking on the Bills, I should say, 7:15 Eastern.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.